Whenever I see someone less visible than I, and let's face it, lots of folks are less visible than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it's the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead, and yes, indeed, you will be visible. You're gonna be visible. I'll teach you the proper poise when you talk to hosts, little ways to stand out and shine. Oh, I'll show you what mic to use, how to share your CTA, everything that really counts to be visible. I'll help you be visible. You'll hang with the right hosts, you'll get to talk about sports, know the slang you've got to know. So let's start, 'cause you've got an awfully long way to go. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Think of it as podcast guest dialysis. Now that I've chosen to become a pal, a brother and advisor, there's nobody wiser, not when it comes to getting visible. I know about visibility, and with an assist from me to be who you'll be, instead of dreary who you were. There's nothing that can stop you from becoming visible. La 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 la. We're gonna make you visible. When I see depressing creatures who are clueless about making the most of podcast features, I remind them on their own behalf to think of celebrated heads of state or especially great communicators. Did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh. Ha! They were visible. Please, it's all about being visible. It's not about aptitude, it's the way you're viewed, so it's very shrewd to be very, very visible like me.
Good morning all. This is Nancy Juetten, and welcome to day 2 of the podcast Visibility Live Lab. I am so excited that you've joined me again today for another awesome day of magic and transformation. I see Jack Mays is here, and Vicki Dobbs is here, and Linda Lillyquist is here, and David Koch is here, and Matthew, whose last name I'm not going to attempt. Joe Palo is here, and Lynn Fraley is here. More and more people are joining every day. I see Diana Needham is in the house. So welcome. I'm also turning my head to the side because I see we have people joining us in the Facebook group as we stream live right there. So if you got an aha or an insight or a lesson yesterday that opened your eyes to a bigger possibility, won't you please say yes in the chat? And if you feel like elaborating, go ahead and elaborate in the chat so I can read out those comments as we move forward in our awesome training today. Let's start with a quick recap of what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we talked about preparing to be the brilliant podcast dream guest that a top host can't wait to book. That means preparing your mindset to believe and behave as if the most important opportunity is coming to you tomorrow. That means preparing your office so that you have a microphone and favorable lighting to make you look as good as possible. And it also means having a microphone on your computer, on your desk, so that you can give your listeners and viewers quality sound. Today, with so many podcasts, many of them are audio only, but quite a few of them are also broadcasting on YouTube and other visual platforms. So we have to pay attention to what we look like and what we sound like. We also talked about getting your Media One sheet created. We wanted a sloppy first copy created so that you could start to look at yourself as a guest that a host would love to book. Would you believe that over 274 comments were posted in the homework thread, people actively jumping in and doing the work? Some of you, I think it was Vicki Dobbs was one of them, was so happy with her Media One sheet that she shared it out on social media so more people could see it. The enthusiasm that I have seen about your sloppy first copies has been really inspiring. And today we're going to dial in those sloppy first copies and make them spectacular, because you know what? It's not about obsessing about what it looks like and formatting a PowerPoint template. That is not what it's about. I wanted this exercise to be one of message clarity so that you could see what you want to talk about, who you want to talk about it to, so that you can actually get in front of hosts looking for guests as early as today. And I'm actually going to show you how you can do that today. And I'm betting that by the end of today's session, you're going to be running to do the things I'm going to suggest to you, because new opportunities could be coming to your inbox as soon as tomorrow when you take my actions that I'm going to recommend. Isn't that exciting? I hope you find that exciting. Yesterday, we covered preparation. So today we're going to dig into positioning and prioritizing. And so that's what we're going to do today. Now, before we dig into that, I just want to sort of touch on a couple of little things that we touched on yesterday, which is, if you've got any head trash that's standing in the way of your big cash, can you just kick it to the curb? Just say to yourself, I'm kicking those self-limiting beliefs to the curb, and I'm doing it right now because it's not serving me. Because as I looked at the quote, the poll that we were doing yesterday, a lot of you have a really urgent need for the all of the above result, which is that you're going to touch and transform more lives. You're going to hang out with cooler kids who have influence that you can borrow. You're going to tell your story to inspire more lives. You're going to create collaborations, cash, connections, and new clients. And you're going to have conversations that are going to be lasting and memorable and that are going to live online indefinitely. Because you know what? If you are on a podcast, that show lives on indefinitely. So if someone goes to look for you in a Google search, guess what? They're going to see all those shows. People are going to be able to listen to you or watch you and get the value that you bring. And if people like what they hear and see, you know what they're going to do? They're going to find their way moving in your direction. And wouldn't that be a wonderful outcome? So we're ditching our self-limiting beliefs. We're kicking imposter disease to the curb. We're going to stop arguing for our limitations, and we're going to start today arguing for our upside, because we do not have any time to waste. My fondest hope is that you will be feeling really optimistic, that you have a story that's worth sharing, and that there are audiences everywhere waiting to hear it. What if you were able to get booked this week? What if a podcast host actually called you and said, loved what I saw on your online profile, can we book a show? What kind of a feeling would that bring about in your body so that you would say to yourself, heck yeah, I am so ready to go? Does anybody want that outcome? If you want that outcome, let me see those comments in the chat. Kevin says, I'd be stoked. 3 exclamation points, I think, or 4. That's what I like to see. Lots of enthusiasm, because you know what? The first time someone calls you and says, I want to book you on your show, you say, wow, that's so cool. And then you think to yourself, what if I could be doing this twice a week? Twice a week. That's all we ask. 2 podcast guest spots twice a week. On a logistical matter, I want you to keep something in mind. Sometimes you'll get booked on a show today, and the host will get you on their calendar as early as next week, and the show could be live a week later. Sometimes it happens just like that. Other times, there are so many other guests waiting in line that your episode won't come on the air until weeks or months later. Regardless, if you book yourself on 2 shows a week consistently, you will have 100 shows to show for it. And whether they happen coincident with your book launch or coincident with the debut of your new website or coincident with whatever else you have coming on, I want you to just decide that being consistently visible in a strategic, savvy way is ultimately going to be to your best advantage. I want podcast guesting to be a new favorite visibility strategy that you just make a well-formed habit, because 2 shows a week. It kind of reminds me of that commercial about the almond growers. Maybe you remember these almond growers standing in the fields and they say, all we ask is two cans a week. That's all we ask. 2 shows a week. If you make this a consistent habit and you like to talk more than you like to type, this will be easy, intuitive, and fun. And easy, intuitive, and fun, and ultimately fruitful. Now that's the kind of combination I like. So let's get into some of this content here. Some of the bios that I saw in those Media One sheets were brilliant and good on you. And some of those bios I saw in those sloppy first copies are what I like to delicately say, lackluster and not blockbuster. If you are someone who is feeling that your bio is lacking in that blockbuster awesomeness, that's what I want to talk about first today. Sometimes we forget to put at least 3 points of proof in our message so that we can be credible and persuasive in inviting someone to say, yes, you're the one I want to talk to. So what are the stunning results that you bring about for your ideal client that make you the go-to person for solving the problem that you solve? If you have been doing this kind of work for 20 years, 30 years, et cetera, you can start a sentence that says something like, since 2009, Linda Lillyquist has touched and transformed hundreds or thousands of lives in this very specific way so that they have this big result. When you say since 2009 at the start of the sentence, the math never has to be updated ever again. And the reader will always know that you've been in the trenches doing that work for a very long time, and you'll never have to update it. So if you've been at it for a really long time, go ahead and indicate how long you've been at it. How many lives have been touched and transformed by this work? Is it 10 lives? Is it 100 lives? Is it 1,000 lives? Get specific. Have you worked with clients with names that we would recognize? If you've worked with Google and Microsoft and Amazon in some consulting capacity, can you drop those logos or those names in your credibility so that people can have that head whip reaction, which is, wow, if she's worked with companies like that, I feel confident that she could work with a company like mine. Have you helped people lose weight, find a date, make a mate, ditch their self-limiting beliefs, overcome challenges to accomplish magnificent things? The more specific you can be about what happens for people when they work with you, the better off your bio will be. Another thing you can consider in your bio is your personal story. This is so important. You know, yesterday when I was sharing a little bit about my personal story, you might have remembered me saying that I came out of the womb with a pen in one hand and a megaphone in the other. I was demonstrating to you that this is the kind of work that I've been destined to do since I joined the planet. I turned a phrase in a way that let you know that it's more than what I do to make a living. It's what I was destined to do all my life. Find a way to say something about your story that will break through the clutter and not sound like everybody else. I also told you the personal story about what it was like growing up with a dad that was always auditioning, and yet we had to clip coupons and hope for better groceries. You're probably going to remember that. There's some authenticity and connection that I demonstrated in sharing that story that you thought, wow, what a nice lady. Look how far she's come. So if you have gone from 0 to hero in record time and lived to tell the tale, That can make your bio more provocative. The number of lives you've touched and transformed makes your bio more provocative. The drama of your own personal journey to go from 0 to hero in record time. If you've been fortunate to be a guest on podcasts, or you've taken the stage at live events or conferences, and meeting planners and conference organizers and leaders of big, huge events have said amazing things about you and the impact you make from the stage, go ahead and capture a sassy soundbite from what someone has said about you. Because that statement, when accompanied by the person's name and title, all of a sudden makes the light of your star shine a little bit brighter, because someone with a big,
thank you.
someone, Barbara, thank you for muting. Yeah. Okay, good. And then what makes you the guest top host can't wait to book is that you've got something interesting to talk about. Something interesting to talk about. So remember, I was saying lackluster and not blockbuster. Sometimes some of the things that you guys want to talk about, you know, there's a difference between hot or not. And some of the things that I saw on those media one sheets were kind of lukewarm, I got to say. Imagine for a moment that you are the host and you have a stack of applications of people that want to be a guest on your show. Would you choose yourself out of a crowd to take the first position? If you are not riveted by what you just wrote about yourself, find a buddy within this program and ask them to workshop it with you so that you can get excited about your own awesomeness. I'm not picking on the book people. I am not picking on the book people. I love the book people, and the book people are some of my best friends. But do you know how many book coaches teach people how to become an Amazon bestseller in record time? They all do. What's special, different, and preferred about the way you do your thing that will help you stand apart from every competitor that does what you do? What is your method? What is your message? What is your moxie? What is your approach? What is your style? What is your vibe? And don't be afraid to demonstrate it in your bio. Because when you do that, all of a sudden you become the guest that a host would be interested to talk to. So what I'd like you to do, if you have your workbook in front of you, is write down 3 stunning results that your own ideal client would find compelling and credible, so they'd be inspired to work with you. And I'm not asking you to be braggadocious, and I'm not asking you to be over self-promotional, but there must be a reason that people turn to you time and time again, because you are the answer to their deepest felt problems, issues, concerns, and can be a blessing to them. So I would love for you to write down what your 3 stunning results might be. And then I want you to think about who would be the audience that you want to share that message with. As I said yesterday, we can't sell a Rolex watch to a migrant farm worker. We have to have an audience to message match. And so if you've got friends, and we all have friends, and we're all learning how to speak up and show up and make our magic in the world. But you might think, well, I'll just ask a bunch of my friends if they have shows, and I'll host them on my show, and they'll host me on their show, and I'll get all this valuable practice. And yes, indeed, you will get valuable practice. But if you're talking to people who have no interest, inclination, or desire to do what it is that you are brilliant at, you got practice, and that's fine. But you didn't speak in front of an audience that was right for you. So what chances are you have very little to show for it in terms of lead generation, conversations that are going to get ignited, and cash that could come into your shopping cart. So I actually want to go off script for a moment and tell you about an exercise that's really powerful and game changing. I got this idea first from Mari Smith, the social media expert. She asked this question one day. She said, who's in your Hollywood squares? Who's in your Hollywood squares? There was a game show many years ago where there was this tic-tac-toe board and there were celebrities in all the different boxes. And they would reach up or look down and help each other to answer these questions. But what I want you to do is to put yourself in the center of a tic-tac-toe board. And I want you to create a Hollywood squares for yourself. Because we all have friends and we all want to get by with a little help from our friends, but it's so much cooler and more strategic and savvy if we can hang out with people that actually have a reason to be in connection with us to support the growth of our respective businesses. So for ease, I'm going to use myself as an example. For many, many, many years, I've been known as the Bye-Bye Boring Bio expert. The Bye-Bye Boring Bio expert is in the center of the tic-tac-toe board. So she says to herself, is there anyone on the planet who needs a better bio? And this gal says to herself, everybody does, but everybody is way too broad. So then I want to start dialing it in. I think, well, leaders of tribes of people who help people attract clients now might find value in what I talk about. Leaders of tribes who teach people how to speak from the stage to monetize might find value in what I talk about. Experts who are about publicity in general might find value in what it is that I do, because the bio is a really important part of anybody's publicity message. Who else might find this of interest? Book people. Anyone that helps people create a book is probably going to find value in what it is that I have to offer, because every author needs a bio for the back of their book, for their Amazon profile, and every other place that they need one. Who else might need what I have to offer? Lots of people. So let's just use those as an example. So I've got book people, publicity people, people who teach people to speak, people who teach people to attract clients now. Those are big buckets. So then I think to myself, who do I already know, like, trust, and admire who does something like that? So back in the day, I said to myself, Christian Michelson is the Get Clients Now guru. I wonder if I could create a relationship with him. Susan Harrow is of PR secrets and a soundbite maven. I wonder if I could create a relationship with her. Donna Kozik and Christine Closer and Diana Needham and Kelly Filardo are all book people. I wonder if I could create relationships with them, and so on and so on. So instead of getting overwhelmed with everybody who's out there that does something interesting, I thought, who could be my really great 8 aspirational relationships that I could foster and nurture so that somehow I could insert myself into their world and create some magic. So I'm inviting you to draw a tic-tac-toe board on a blank sheet of paper within your workbook, or on a blank page within your workbook. Put yourself in the center, and knowing what it is that you do and who you do it for, ask yourself, what do people buy before they come to me? What do people buy after they come to me? And what buckets do they live in? And then I want you to consider actual names of people that you can associate with those buckets. Because in this day and age, where virtual speaking and podcast guesting is like the thing to do, chances are every one of those people has a Facebook Live that they deliver, a YouTube show, a podcast. They lead a mastermind where they need a guest faculty expert. And you can see that if you create and nurture relationships with people who are strategically aligned with what it is that you are here to add value to, it can be a peas and carrots match. And you can make that case as you make your approach and find ways that you can create a connection with these people and see where it can lead. Because relationships are where it all begins in everything that we do. It's all about how we show up, how we serve, how we give and support others. how we take 100% responsibility for the outcomes that we want. Thank you, Jack Canfield. So if you want to be in association with people of influence, first identify the 8 people of influence you most want to be in relationship with. And then ask yourself, what could I do to make myself of value and contribution to their success and to demonstrate my genuine interest in them before I ask for something for myself? This could be as simple as making a list of your great 8 people and going to LinkedIn, and without being asked, write the most amazing endorsement for these people on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn will let them know that an endorsement is waiting for their approval. And when they see this gobsmacking, amazing, specific, terrific testimonial that you have posted on their LinkedIn, they will start their day with a smile on their face. They will say, that was unexpected. That's a fantastic way to start my day. Chances are they're going to write back and say, thank you. In which case you can say, I've been an admirer and a fan of your work for a long, long time. I'm wondering what you have coming up and if there might be some way I could support you in business. Would you be game to have a conversation? And if you start a conversation like that, chances are they're going to reach back and say, let's have a chat, in which case then you can start building a really good relationship with someone who has influence that one day can be deployed to make your own star rise even brighter. Who likes this exercise? I see some hands raising. Because, you know, one of the things I say is that you will book yourself on 4 to 12 podcasts, and you will do so without overwhelm or without tech taking you out. I personally get overwhelmed at the prospect that there are 2.7 million podcasts, and how am I ever going to make sense of all of that? But can I manage 8 really great aspirational relationships? Yes, I can. 8 really great relationships. 8 is the number for abundance. 8 is the number for infinity when it's turned on its side. 8 really great relationships. So I'm inviting you, look at your own expertise through the filter of your Hollywood squares, identify those Hollywood squares, and then it makes looking for people who could be your best host so much easier. So now I want to share with you, I have so much to say. How are we doing so far? We're about 25 minutes in. Have we gotten some ahas? Are we learning some things? I've got some faces shining. I like that. Okay. So now that you know that you can, now I want to get into some nitty gritty. That's what I want to do, nitty gritty. I mentioned that I didn't want you to get too obsessive about getting the graphic design of your Media One sheet dialed in, because that the most important part was getting clarity around your message, who you want to talk to, why you want to talk to them. Well, there is this really cool resource, and it's called Podmatch, and I want you all to join it today. You can go to, and Tabitha, if you can post this in the chat, getknowngetpaid.com/podmatch. And what I would like you to do is take the content from your sloppy first copy, and I would like you to transfer it to the portal that lives on on podmatch.com. And why is that? Because there are hosts there right now looking for guests like you. And if you could get in front of a host and they liked what you had to say, you'd be in business. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen. I wonder if I can do this. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm opening a file. Let me see if I can. Let me just see if I can do this. I have to go back. Oh, here we go. Share my screen. Where did it go? I'm going to try to do something here. You know, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I'm a little bit tripped up by the text, so I'm not going to try to get too complicated here. Let's try something else. There is a Facebook group on Facebook called the Podcast Guest Collaboration Facebook group. And there are almost 30,000 people on that group in Facebook representing hosts and guests that are looking to make a match. I would like you today to join that Facebook group and to start watching the bounty of connections that are being made. And Tabitha is posting the link to that group in the chat so that you can go there when we're complete today and you can see that you can ask to be a member. It's free to join. And I want you to start noticing when hosts say, I'm looking for a guest who can talk about how to release their muffin top in 20 weeks or 20, in a reasonable period of time so that people can start the new year off right. People basically say, this is what I'm looking for. Do you know anybody who can do, who is that? And then I want you to notice how people reply. Because when we get into tomorrow's call, I'm going to talk about how to pitch, and I want to teach you how to pitch so that you will be the one that stands apart. I want you to join that group. I also want you to go to getknowngetpaid.com/podmatch and join Podmatch today, because when you are satisfied that your sloppy first copy has transformed from sloppy to spectacular by posting it again in the day 2 thread based on what we've talked about today regarding making your bio better and putting in your stunning results, I think by tonight you should be in a good position to start sharing your message with more people. And won't that be exciting and empowering? I just want to take a moment and look at the chat because I see 60 comments there, and I want to make sure that I'm not off the rails, not tending to people's needs. Someone says, what a great way to take away the overwhelm and start making progress. Very good. Terrific exercise, Martin says. So good. Such a great invitation. Sincere relationship. Thank you, Betty. I think it's always great to see how you can serve others. This is awesome, Gina says. Quality over quantity. Okay. People are liking this. So let me just think about a couple of other things. What I want you to do is I want you to revisit your Media One sheet to beef up your positioning and your confidence. I want you to join the podcast guest and collaboration site on Facebook to lurk and learn about how people are showing up. And what I want you to do, and this is kind of a cool exercise, imagine that you are a host and you are looking for guests. Take off your own agenda, but if you saw the responses to your post, would you be intoxicated by what you saw so that you wanted to reach out to that person and say, let's get on a call or let's book a show? If you look at these responses through the eyes of the host, I think you're going to get a huge wake-up call about how you can show up differently and in a preferred manner so that when you ultimately start responding to these opportunities, you will stand apart. There's one other really cool tool I want to share with you today, and it's called Chartable. And I want to build on this whole idea of 8 really great shows. And I want to see if I'm going to try this one more time and see if I can go to Chartable. Chartable. If you want to hasten the path to identifying shows that are right for you, go to chartable.com, and right at the top of the page, it says search podcasts. And I'm just going to type in here, grief and loss. I typed in grief and loss, and what do you know? 3 shows popped up right away that are about grief and loss. If I was an end-of-life facilitator, I would want to look into shows that are about end of life. Grief and loss would be an excellent search term to find shows that are right for you. So if I click on the grief and loss show, you can read about what the show is about. You can check them out on iTunes. They are ranked number 159. You can, I'm going to go there right now just for fun, see what happens. 7 episodes and 1 rating. This is useful. When you are pitching shows, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but when you're pitching yourself to shows, I believe that you should get on shows that have at least 20 episodes and at least 5 5-star reviews, so that you as a busy business owner can be confident that there are enough listeners already paying attention to hear your message. 7 episodes and 1 rating might be a really good place to start. And if that's exciting to you, you should go ahead, and we'll talk about how to pitch them more tomorrow. But let's go back here and say, maybe you're about weight loss. Rebel weight loss and lifestyle, weight loss for women, weight loss success, weight loss busy physicians, weight loss successful women. Instantly, if there are 2.7 million shows on the air, but you're a weight loss expert, go to Chartable and find 8 really great shows that you can start listening to now, so that you can imagine what it would be like for you to be on those shows. And it can have you reaching up to these well-established shows where you could make a case that you should be their guest. Isn't this a game changer and a time saver? Who's excited about that? I'm just going to try a different niche. Financial planning. Look at that. Anything about financial. Look at that. We can also do something about infertility. Maybe that one's not working so well. Women's health. So what you need to do is you just sort of try different kinds of keywords to find shows that would be right for you. And so when I was first starting out as a podcast guest, I want to share with you what I did, because I'm just a few steps ahead of where many of you may be, and following the leader might be something that would be interesting to you. Being new to it, relatively speaking, I thought, I want to pick the low-hanging fruit and get some shows on my calendar so I can demonstrate to myself and others that I can put a few sentences together and be a brilliant guest. So what did I do? I went to the podcast guest collaboration site on Facebook. I joined for free. I started lurking and learning and observing how people were showing up. And I made the decision that I was going to be an amazing person who showed up in a preferred way, so that every minute I spent there was going to be fruitful for me. And what do you know? I booked myself on dozens of shows, very short order. And then I thought to myself, I've got this. I'm ready for bigger shows. So I went to my Hollywood Squares. And I thought, now that I've got all these podcast guest spots and I'm feeling comfortable, I'm going to reach out to all these people in my Hollywood Squares, and I'm going to ask them if there's some way I could add value or be of contribution to whatever they have brewing. And what do you know? A whole bunch of them said yes. And then I thought, how much bigger can I dream? So then I go to Chartable and I think, what are my 8 aspirational shows that if I was on those shows, it could potentially be game changing for me? And then I made a list of those 8 shows. Now, this isn't something I do full time. This is something I do an hour a day consistently, because it's my most important visibility strategy. But can you see how thoughtful I'm being? Start with the low hanging fruit, then go to your Hollywood Squares, and then go as big as you possibly can. Because when you're going as big as you possibly can, who you are in showing up for those opportunities demonstrates itself in a very powerful way. And the cool thing about being on those really big shows is that the people who listen to those shows are now listening to you. And then you find yourself holding court with people who are even more influential than you thought possible, actually reaching back to you and saying, you need to come on my show. You need to be a part of what it is that we're doing. And all of a sudden, instead of you having to pitch, you get to hold court and decide where you want to show up. Just yesterday, I was talking to Mark Porteous, who is the leader and the co-founder of the JV Directory. And he said, you know, I really need to get my Media One sheet done and dialed. And I said, yeah, you really do. He says, the thing of it is, Nancy, is I'm always invited to be guests on people's shows and programs. I've never pitched myself. And I said, well, good for you. That's a very influential place to be. But could it be that you are holding yourself smaller than you could be if you could find some courage to reach up and go beyond what's comfortable. And he said, oh yeah, there you go. You got me there. And so he's seeing the value. He's definitely seeing the value of reaching up. And so who you become as you reach up is a whole new ball game. And I just find that incredibly, incredibly intoxicating. And that's why I like to teach people how to do this. I just see some notes here on the chat here. And first time, Carrie Cassell says, the first time I attended the live lab, I signed up as Nancy suggested and have done dozens of podcasts. Now here to learn how to polish and work with those with a higher following. These tools are fantastic. Awesome, awesome. I'm so glad you're back. Carrie Cassell is an expert in weight loss, and she has a very specific method. Bettina says, I have my own podcast and will be sure I have 5-star ratings and testimonials. I haven't kept up with that detail. I have a podcast and never knew all these amazing tools and resources. Really appreciate you, Nancy, says Gina. Look at this. I'm getting all this love. Wow, I'm loving this. I love what Podmatch is, and it gave me the buckets to complete, so I saved it into a file, and now I can join other podcast guesting apps in no time. Thanks, Nancy. See, what I want you to do, for anyone who's obsessed about their Media One sheet and they've had trouble getting the download, and you've had your technical challenges and you don't know how to do a screenshot and all that kind of stuff, kick that stuff to the curb. Kick it to the curb right now, and just say to yourself, on a Word document, can I assemble my bio, what I want to talk about, how people can book me, and make sure I've got an up-to-date headshot so that when I go to getknowngetpaid.com/podmatch, all I do is cut, paste, and go. Cut, paste, and go. And then when you do that, I want to try one more thing with the screen share. So just bear with me for a minute, okay? Because sometimes see what I'm doing? I'm going to Podmatch. I'm going to Podmatch. And there's my dashboard. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to show this to you. I think you're going to find it interesting. Okay. Here is my profile on Podmatch. You get to put in your photo. Then you get to put in some tags to indicate words that people would look for to find someone like you. You get to upload all of your approved images. So when the host does the show, they have a current image of you and they don't have to go to Google to find one from 10 years ago where your hair was a different color and you look 10 years different, and those kinds of things happen. I've got my bio there. I have ideas for episode titles, and I have my guest questions that I'm always ready to answer. And so I want to share these with you because maybe they'll spark some ideas for you. What path did you take to become the whoever you are? Why do you do this work in the first place? What's the best advice you've ever read about something about your niche, and why does it matter? Say something about what's going on in the world today, like I did here. Virtual speaking is all the rage. What ways are working well for speakers and experts to raise their voices and make their impact? That's a bigger question than how to be a podcast guest. How can we be best prepared for those kinds of opportunities? Tell me a story about being ready for opportunity and how it's paid off. How can we create simple tools and systems around this? You see, I've got all these cool questions that just guide a conversation. And the very last question is, what action would you like our viewers to take as a result of today's conversation? And then later in this training, we're going to talk about dialing in that juicy, delicious call to action. But this is where you want to have singular focus and say, the number one thing I want you to do as a result of listening to me today is to, it could be any variety of things. It could be go to my LinkedIn and say, let's connect, and put the word brilliance in the title. And we'll talk about how you can be more brilliant in record time. Bam, no technology required. That's so easy. But what if today you took the content that you also can put in noteworthy podcast episodes where you've been a guest. Now, I've been a guest on over 100 shows, but I chose the 3 shows that actually brought me clients instantly to showcase because they were already proven to be persuasive in bringing people to my doorstep. If you do not yet have 3 shows, then set the goal that you will get booked on 3 shows so that you have 3 links that you can showcase. Because when you have links to showcase, hosts are just like you. They want to sample how you show up, what you say, how you say it, whether you've got good energy, whether you deliver value in the first line of text. Give them a proof point that they can benefit from having you as a guest on their show by having a link there. Isn't this awesome? Are you excited about, you can also, remember yesterday I told you that you need to have your social media all dialed in and you need to know how many people are there. And the host can check here and check out all of my profiles, and seeing is believing. They will see and believe. So I'm not talking you down a rail, going down a rail that's not fruitful. Everything I talked to you about yesterday about dialing in your media one sheet is guiding you to be seen in much bigger ways where hundreds or thousands of hosts are looking for people just like you. So I want you to set up your Podmatch profile as soon as possible. It's free to do. And after you've gotten some excellent success with it, you can decide to upgrade to the $20 a month program where you get even more preferred treatment, which is very inexpensive, I think, given the kind of impact you get getting to talk to so many people. So are we excited about what we've learned today? Who's excited? On a scale of 1 to 10, when 10 is Nancy poured on the value today and I can't wait to see what she's got tomorrow, how'd I do? All right. 30. Thank you so much, Matthew. Cassie Eubank. That's good. That's so good. I love that. 17, Joe Palo. I love that. Okay. Since we've got a few minutes before it's the top of the hour, I'm more than happy to open up the line to anybody that wants to ask me a question or get a clarification, so this can be interactive and of ultimate service to you. So Tabitha, if anybody's raising their hand or wants to say something, I see people doing that. So what I'd like you to do is to be concise in your question so that I can answer it as smoothly as possible. I'm going to start with Brett Deely. And I'm going to unmute you. There you go. Hey, Brett, how are you?
Hi, Jan. How are you? It's nice to be here.
It's good. And my name is Nancy. I know
Nancy.
We have Jan Wallen in common, who is
I know
a
we
broadcaster.
did. You know, when I talk with my wife about the two of you, I confuse the names also. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right.
My question is what do you do if you don't have my business was offline for 25 years. I've done my own seminars and one private consulting and so on. What do you do if you're migrating a good portion of that online, but you have no social following at all, and you don't have that to offer your hosts in exchange for them bringing you on as a guest?
That's a really excellent question. And if you've had a fruitful, prolific career doing something similar in corporate life, your best revenge is to have a topic that is so provocative to talk about that the host can't wait to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Number 2, it is so important to build an audience for your work. It is so important. And on day 4, we're going to talk about ping-ponging people back into your world by having an irresistible lead magnet. And so for everyone who is in the same situation where we don't have a social media following and we don't have an opt-in subscriber list to enjoy what you are now doing in your life, create some kind of a special report, an instant gratification gift. Have you written a book, Brett?
I have not, but I have probably a dozen lead magnets.
Okay, so what's the one that converts the best? Do you know?
Yes. One is a title of 3 mistakes most consultants and business coaches make, and so on, that kind of title. And then another is a 3-step guide to creating a business accelerator mindset. So one is an overview lead magnet, type lead magnet, and the others, what to do, know about these mistakes and what to do instead. So both of them have pulled equally as well.
So when you say pulled equally as well, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but if when people visit your lead magnet, 50% of the people who visit actually click through, that means that you have a 50% conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any clue about how many people are actually clicking through to get your goodie?
I would say probably 40%.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so if you have that gift and it's converting well, I want you to, do you write articles on LinkedIn, for example?
I do not. I have not started that.
Well, you might want to start writing articles on LinkedIn, and in the bio box for your article, you could say, Brett Deely is been since this whatever year, he's been working with clients in this way to accomplish these kinds of results. If you'd like to determine if you're making these mistakes and what to do instead, go here right now. You can write articles on LinkedIn and drive them to go get your irresistible lead magnet. Then you'll start building an audience for that, for your work. And everybody out there has a course, a book, a program, a mentoring program, services they provide, and they're really brilliant at what it is that they do. The trouble is none of us have a big enough audience to make the numbers work out the way we want them to instantaneously. So make a decision to build your audience every day. And that could be by going live on LinkedIn, sharing a 10-minute tip that's relevant to your expertise, where the call to action at the end of it is, if you've gotten value from this video, be sure to download the ABC, whatever report it is, and I'll see you on the other side. Looking forward to continuing the relationship. But you need to put yourself out there so you can give people a reason to go get that goodie. When you're on a podcast, they should go get the goodie. When you're on a Facebook Live, they should go get the goodie. Those are a couple of ideas, but you got to start building an audience for your work so that things can get a lot easier.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Good. And I'll have more to say that as we move on to irresistible lead magnets in a couple of days. But there's 5 things I do every day, and I'm going to share them. Number 1, I wow my clients with extraordinary customer service and value beyond their expectations, because if I wow my clients every day, they're going to talk to their friends and more people will come my way. So my clients always come first. Number 2, what are the 5? I sell something every day. I sell something every day, because if you don't sell something every day, you don't have a business. Number 3, I always do something to build my visibility, which means I'm going to be on 2 podcasts a week, come heck or high water. I'm going to grow my audience, and I want to show you something. And I'm happy to share this with anyone who wants it. I keep track of my time every day on a timesheet. But on the bottom of it, it says, how many sales did I make today? How did my list grow today? How many members are in my Facebook group today compared to yesterday? What was my email open and click-through rate? And what are some other things I'm tracking? Every single day, I notice if things are expanding or contracting, because what you measure, you treasure. What you measure, you treasure. Over 200 new people have joined my Facebook group within the last 24 days. I treasure every single person for the opportunity I have to show up and be of service and pour in value. Because if I can do this much for free, just imagine what value waits behind the velvet rope when people actually decide to work with me. So the big headline here is sell every day, wow your clients every day, be visible every day, grow your audience every day. And then the final one is learn something new every day that's going to help you advance. Because if we stay stagnant, nothing's going to happen. If anybody wants to see my timesheet, put timesheet in the chat and we'll make sure it gets uploaded to the guides, because what you measure gets treasured. And if you don't have your eye on the ball, your eye's someplace else. So is that helpful?
Yes. Thank you so much for the step-by-step tips. It's very helpful, because I have so many things to implement making the migration from offline to online. that I wouldn't say it gets overwhelming, but it does get foggy and confusing as to when you wake up, where am I going to start? So that's extremely helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, very good. Well, there's more value straight ahead, so stay tuned, okay?
Okay.
Now I want to talk to Joe Palo. And Joe Palo, why don't you let us know the book you're writing, and then introduce yourself, the book you're writing, and then ask your question.
Sure. Thanks, Nancy. I appreciate it. I'm Joe Palo. I'm author of the upcoming book, How to Sell Nothing. It's a logical way to make the emotional sale. Two things. One, you had 5 things you do every day. You listed the first 3. If you get the last 2, because I was making notes of those. That's the first question. And then the second one, and I think it kind of shapes everything for the one page, at least it's my thinking, that your favorite question, did you want to help the host out with the podcast host? What are some of those questions? You went through them. I couldn't quite hear them, but if you could help out with that.
Okay, well, I'll try. Thanks for your question.
Thanks.
And Joe Palo, if you do, I'm going to ask you, do you happen to have a link to sample a portion of your book, How to Sell Anything?
No.
But you're going to.
That's why I'm doing this. Yes, that's why I'm doing all this. So yes, it's coming, Nancy.
That's good. I like that. Okay. The 5 things I recommend you do every day: sell every day. Ask for a consult, get on the phone with people, book consultations. That's all selling. Wow your clients beyond their wildest expectations. Grow your audience, get visible, and learn something new. Those are the 5 things. And with regard to the questions that we ask a host, most hosts are going to want to know, how did you find your way into this line of work? How did it all start? Everybody's questions are going to be different, and some hosts will have their own prescribed questions and won't even care what questions you have suggested. Okay. But the benefit of you creating questions is that it can save the host time, be of service to the host, and also be self-serving to you. So the conversation moves in the direction that you are headed. So what's your origin story? How did you come to do this kind of work? What are the biggest lessons that you've learned on the journey so far? What would you say to someone who really struggles with this problem? What are the top 3 things you could do to slay it and get on with it? I mean, you sort of think about what would be a good question to ask in a conversation. I can't prescribe that for you because I don't know, but the more you dig in and show your own heart and your own journey, some of us are at what do you call encore careers. We had a career in a corporate life. We've had a career doing something else, and maybe we're headed to something more. What courage was required to pivot from this place to that place to finally find your encore best final chapter, your finest hour straight ahead? I mean, ask questions that would allow you to reveal stories about your own expertise in life that would allow the audience to connect with you in an authentic way and feel inspired to want to take another step. That's some broad ideas there. Does that help? He says yes. Okay.
Yep.
So now
of course it does. Thank you, Nancy.
Good. And you might be thinking, Joe, I'm just going to give you a little tip. When I wrote the Bye Bye Boring Bio workbook in 2009, I've since done 3 different editions, and the most recent one came out last year. It was all about virtual speaking. But you could have knocked me over with a feather when someone in a Zoom room in a breakout session said, do you have a preview of that book available that can be uploaded to the Kindle store so that you could start building an audience for your book even before the book was in your hand? And I thought, you know what? That hadn't occurred to me. I think I'm going to try it. Thank you very much. So the 4th of July weekend last year, I excerpted 27 pages from this manuscript, and I uploaded it to the Kindle store as the preview to the Bye Bye Boring Bio 2020 workbook. And there are instructions on Google how to upload your book preview to Kindle, and you just follow them step by step. Well, I did that, and technology is not my favorite thing. I gave myself a gold star, and I thought, good for me. And then the next morning I woke up and said, I wonder if my work is getting an audience. And it was already trending with me not having done anything with it. So I thought, what if I did some social media and did a press release and emailed my list and let them know that this was available for 99 cents. And by the end of the weekend, my Amazon best-selling, my 27-page preview was an Amazon #1 bestseller in 4 categories. And I was just over the moon. People were buying it. And why was that good? Because once I had all these people buying it, the call to action at the end of my preview was, join my Facebook group so you can see what other cool stuff I've got for you. And what do you know? The Facebook group blew up. And now all of you are here. And I'm making money and making a difference and having the best time of my life. So if anyone is on this call that has written a book, do you have a preview or an excerpt of the book that people can download as a freebie? An example you can go check out is at buyboringbio.com. It's free from that link now. It's free. Go get it. Buyboringbio.com. And if you've already seen it, look at it through fresh eyes as a tool that I have created that lassos the right people to join me in my Facebook group so I can deepen the relationship with them. And here you all are right here, right now. It was just like a random suggestion someone made in a Zoom room that was a game changer for me. It can be a game changer for you too. And you can go and get it for free. And if you're still struggling with your bio, there's brilliant guidance in this preview that you can deploy to make your media one sheet better right now. So, okay. I see there's so many other hands raised, but how about we answer those questions tomorrow, because I want to honor your time and make sure that we stay on point. And I hope that these comments with the interaction has been valuable to you. If you are in the Facebook group and thinking, gosh, I want to interact with Nancy, well, you know what you do? You go to your workbook and you turn to the second page. The Zoom link is right there in the workbook. And tomorrow when you join us at 11 o'clock, because tomorrow we're talking about pitching. Yeah, tomorrow we're talking about pitching. And you're not going to want to miss that, because I have been a publicist all my life. I have earned compliments from people from major publications and minor publications about what a brilliant pitcher I am. And if you learn at the feet of my wisdom, you're going to be a brilliant pitcher too. And that means you're going to show up like a pro. You're going to get more bookings on the calendar. You're going to drive more leads. You're going to drive more sales. You're going to build your star on the rise, and you're going to be unstoppable. And that's the aim for this whole training. So if you have loved this, post some love in the chat. If you want to still refer friends to join us, Podcast Visibility Live Lab is the place they can register. If you have any questions with regard to logistics or access to things, Tabitha, my concierge, and Hallie, my other concierge, they are at your service and by your side. Just find their names and say, Hallie and Tabitha, SOS, I need help, and they will be at your service. I hope you're having a fabulous time. I hope you're going to tell all your friends what a brilliant place it is to be at the Podcast Visibility Live Lab. And your homework, I've already specified. One more comment about homework. Very slowly. At the top of the Facebook group, there's a tab called Guides. The homework thread shows up in the Guides tab. If you want to find the homework thread, go to the Guides tab for day 2 and click on it. And that is where you are going to post your new and improved media one sheet with your improved bio and other missing pieces. I love the golden retriever, Jack. Oh my God, how cute is that? My favorite breed of all time. You're going to post your revised media one sheet that reflects the brilliant bio suggestions I made today. And you are going to join the podcast. That's what you're going to post in the homework thread. Don't put it anywhere else but there. And then there's actions you need to take. You're joining the podcast guesting collaboration site on Facebook to start lurking and learning. You're going to do a search on Chartable to find 8 really great shows. And you're also going to do your Hollywood Squares. And if you feel like joining helpareporter.com, go ahead and do that. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow, but it's really good for people who want to get quoted in major media. And I can teach you a little bit more about that tomorrow when we talk about pitching. So does everybody feel really full? I think people are feeling full. We're getting, so thanks for being here. I'm going to sing us out again. My nephew's name is Zachary Hansen. He's available to sing for your tribe. He's available to perform at your events. He's a very talented musical theater artist, and he needs a bigger stage, just like each and every one of you do too. Oh, by the way, those were me rewriting the words to that popular song. If you want to know something else about me, there's a chain of restaurants called Taco Time in the Pacific Northwest. And if you've ever heard the Taco Time song, guess who wrote that song? I did. And if you ever want me to sing a few bars, I'll happily do it. I might even do that tomorrow. This is not my first rodeo, but I was really having fun with this whole visibility song. I hope you enjoy it. I'm thrilled that you've been here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to, what am I doing? I'm going to do the screen share. I'm going to find the video, and Zachary Hansen is going to sing us out. If you want to be connected with him, he's on Instagram, and he is so worth much bigger stage and bigger attention. So listen to the lyrics like it was for the first time, and I will see you in the Facebook group, and I'll see you here tomorrow straight up at 11 o'clock. I can't wait. Thank you, everyone. Carol Stanley, I think you're going to love this.
Whenever I see someone less visible than I, and let's face it, lots of folks are less visible than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it's the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead, and yes, indeed, you will be visible. You're gonna be visible. I'll teach you the proper poise when you talk to hosts, little ways to stand out and shine. Oh, I'll show you what mic to use, how to share your CTA, everything that really counts to be visible. I'll help you be visible. You'll hang with the right hosts, you'll get to talk about sports, know the slang you've got to know. So let's start, 'cause you've got an awfully long way to go. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Think of it as podcast guest dialysis. Now that I've chosen to become a pal, a brother and advisor, there's nobody wiser, not when it comes to getting visible. I know about visibility, and with an assist from me to be who you'll be, instead of dreary who you were. There's nothing that can stop you from becoming visible. La, 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 la. We're gonna make you visible. When I see depressing creatures who are clueless about making the most of podcast features, I remind them on their own behalf to think of celebrated heads of state or especially great communicators. Did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh. Ha! They were visible. Please, it's all about being visible. It's not about aptitude, it's the way you're viewed, so it's very shrewd to be very, very visible like me.
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. I hope you're smiling. All right, bye everybody.